Growing up, most children have their biological parents with them, but on some special occasions, they do not. And I was one of those special occasions. Instead of growing up with my regular parents, I grew up with my grandparents. And they decided to move to Minnesota from California when I was about 3 years old. Now, leaving behind California meant that I had to leave behind my mother. But at the time, I didn't think much of it because I saw my grandmother and my mother as one whole person. And when we finally moved to Minnesota, I would get regular phone calls just to see how I was my parents, and everything really in general. But I always knew that there was just never a real connection between me and my mother. And I knew how she looked and I knew how her voice was, but I never had the feeling of having your real mother with you. And when I started school, I saw all my friends, they had their mothers with them and everything, and I just always wondered if my own mother would accept me just as their mothers had accepted them. And during one of those phone calls that I got from my mother, she finally told me that she was going to move to Minnesota from California for the same reasons that we did. So at that time, I just felt anxious and sad and nervous and happy. But I finally decided that I was extremely excited. So I took a big calendar and I just marked down the days until the big day finally came. When the big day finally came, the car ride to the airport felt like it felt forever. And although I had already been to an airport before, I felt like it was a whole new world for me. All I could see was the people whizzing by, getting to their planes on time, and luggage being wheeled away, and I could smell that cheap airport food smell. So me and my grandparents finally found a spot to sit at to wait for the airplane to land. And as I was sitting, I was just going through all the conversations that me and my mother had. And I just kept thinking if she would even like me, if she would even know who I was, or if she would accept me. And I finally saw that the plane had landed, and I saw her coming through the gateway. And when I finally saw her, it was as if nobody else was there, and she was the only one that had my attention. And when I was just standing there waiting for her to get closer, I just kept thinking, if I should hug my mother or if I should just wave to my mother. And as a child, you should know what to do because she's your mother. And she got closer and she finally hugged me, and we just shared the most awkwardest hug ever. And the car ride home was even more awkward. Not much was said, but she did pull out a candy bar, a half-eaten candy bar, and she asked me if I wanted it. And I had never tried that kind, so I said, oh yeah, give it to me, I'll eat it. And when she gave it to me, I just thought that it was just that candy bar was only sold in California. And I remember what kind of candy bar it was. It was the Hershey's Cookies and Cream Chocolate Bar. And now, every single time I eat that candy bar, I think of that very memory, and I appreciate what I have now.